Good morning, students. In our previous class, we have studied that how few social reformers came in front for the to bring the change in the society. Among those social reformers, one of the social reformer was Raja Ram Mohan Roy, who had formed the association called Brahmo Samaj, and he wanted to bring the change in the society. He wanted to make the society free from the social evils which were prevailing in the society in early years. Then he also, through his writings, uh, was against showed that he was against the widow burning, and did not wanted the people to follow the widow mourning, that is the sati pratha, and by his work only in 1929 sati was banned. Then after Ram Mohan Rai, we have further seen about Ishwar Chand Vidyasagar also, and he he suggested that widows could remarry, and after the sati pratha was banned, he worked for the widow remarry, and accordingly the law was passed in 1857, 56, permitting the widow remarriage. So a law was passed to permit the widows to remarry in 1856. Then after Ishwar Chand Vidyasagar, Veer Salangam Pantalu was also there in the Telugu speaking areas. He also was in favor of widow remarriage. And similarly, Swami Dayanand Saraswati also supported widow remarriage. So in this way, have seen that so many social reformers came to reform the Indian society and wanted to free the Indian society from such social evils like Sati Pratha and uh, widows, and where the widows could not remarry. Even Vidyasagar, with his other reformers, had set up schools for the girls, for the women education also. Even women in the early years, women started working to uplift the status of the women. Uh, like we have seen the Begum Ruqayya Shekhawat Hussain, who started school for Muslim girls in Patna and Calcutta. Even Tarabai Shinde, who was a woman and educated at home only at Pune. She published the book called Stri Purush Tulna, in which comparison between women and men was there, and she has criticized this difference between man and woman. And then Pandit Ramabai also, we have seen that she had founded the widow home at Pune to provide the shelters to the widow who were treated badly by the husbands and the relatives, and had trained themselves in particular art from by which they can live a life economically self-dependent life. Then further, we have seen in our previous class that the Child Marriage Act was also passed, that in 1929, and according to this act, no man below the age of 18 and woman below the age of 16 could marry. And slowly, now this age limit was raised to 21 for men and 18 for women. So in this way, many reformers were working for the change in the society, to bring the change in the Indian society, to uplift the condition of the woman. Even now the caste system was prevailing in early times, and Pratna Samaj and Paramhans Mandali was created so as to show people that all caste inequality should not be there, all caste should be treated equally, and there should be no difference between among the people should be made on the basis of the caste. Then further, we have also seen that Ghasidas, who started the Satnami movement, even Sri Narayan Guru, they all also proclaimed for the unity of the people. And according to Narayan Guru, one caste, one religion, and one God for human kind is there. That is why no discrimination should be made in the society on the basis of the caste. Now, today we are going to start with Gulamgiri, and one of the most vocal amongst the low caste leaders was Jyotirai Phule. That means one of the most important, famous leader was Jyotirai Phule. and he was very famous among the low caste people. And this is the figure 1.3, sorry, 13 showed the picture of Jyotirao Phule. Now, he was born in 1827 and he studied in school set up by the Christian missionaries. Now, this Jyotirao Phule was born in 1827 and he studied in the school which was set up by Christian missionaries. On growing up, he developed his own ideas about the injustice of caste society. Now when he grew, then he had enlightened with the ideas about the injustice done by the people on the basis of the caste. He set out to attack the Brahmins claim that they were superior to others. Now he also was against against this caste system, and uh, he opposed the Brahmins who had claimed that they were the superior caste. They were kept at the upper position in the caste hierarchy. He set out to attack the Brahmins' claim that they were superior to others since they were Aryans. So this claim of Brahmins that they were Aryans, that is why they are superior to the other caste, was totally opposed by Jyotirao Phule. Uh, Phule argued that the Aryans were foreigners who came from outside and the subcontinent and defeated and subjugated the true children of the country, those who had lived here from before the coming of the Aryans. That means the Phule argued as Brahmins proclaimed that they belong to the Aryan uh, that is why they are the superior caste, they are having the superiority from the other caste. But Jyotirao Phule totally argued this conception of Brahmins, and he argued that the Aryans were the foreigners and they came outside the subcontinent. They did not belong to India, and defeated and subjugated the true children of the country, that means the native children. Who the Indians were defeated by these Aryans, they were the foreigners and they were the outsiders according to the Phule. As the Aryans established their dominance, they began looking at the defeat population as inferior. And as slowly these Aryans, who were the outsiders, they defeated the Indian population, and thus they established the dominions. Dominions means their supremacy. These are established the supremacy uh, on the people, on the population of India, whom they have defeated, and they treated this Indian population as inferior or the low caste people. According to Phule, the upper caste had no right to their land and power. In reality, the land belonged to indigenous people, the so-called low caste. That means, according to Phule, the Aryans were the outsiders, and this land, Indian land, did not belong to Aryans, and the upper caste had no right to the land and power in reality. But this land, according to Phule, belonged to indigenous people. Now, what does the word indigenous means? Indigenous means the native people who originally belong to this country, that are called as native or indigenous people. So this land, Indian land, belongs to the indigenous people, the native people, that is the low caste people who really belong to this country. Phule claimed that before Aryan rule there existed a golden age. So before the Aryan came, there was a golden age when warrior peasants tilled the land and ruled the Maratha countryside in just and fair ways. That before the coming of the Aryans, it was the golden age when the warrior and peasants, they used to till the lands, they used to cultivate the land, and there was a rule of Maratha countryside, and this rule was very just and fair. He proposed that Shudras were considered as the laboring caste who used to uh, provide services to the upper caste. So he proposed that the Shudras and anti-Shudras, Ati-Shudras, that is uh, untouchables. The Shudras were the laboring caste, and the Ati-Shudras, that is the untouchables, should unite to challenge caste discrimination. So both these categories of low caste people should unite themselves and oppose this caste system in India. The Satya Shodhak Samaj, an association Phule founded, propagated caste equality. Now, this Satya Shodhak Samaj, underline this Satya Shodhak Samaj, this is an association which was founded by Phule, and this association that means propagated means spread or communicate about the caste equality. In this Samaj, Satya Shodhak Samaj, it was communicated, it was spread that caste equality should prevail in the country. In 1873, Phule wrote book Gulamgiri. Now underline this also. Which book was written by Phule in 1873? It was Gulamgiri, and Gulamgiri means slavery. Now Phule wrote the book named Gulamgiri, which means slavery. Some 10 years before this, the American Civil War had been fought, and before this book he had written before means some 10 years before uh, the Civil War, American Civil War had been fought, leading to the end of the slavery in America. So before 10 years, when this book was written by Phule, American Civil War had been fought, and this led to the end of the slavery in America. When the Civil War was fought, this Civil War ended with the end of the slavery in America. Phule dedicated this book to all those Americans who had fought to free slaves, thus establishing a link between condition of the lower caste in India and black slaves in America. That is why this book Phule has dedicated his book that is named Gulamgiri, meaning slavery, to those Americans who had fought to free the slaves, who had fought to abolish slavery in America, and thus establishing a link between the condition of lower caste in India and black slaves in America. So the link was created this to show that the lower caste people in India has the same condition, are suffering from same situation as was the condition of black slaves in America. That is why Phule dedicated his book Gulamgiri to these Americans who fought to free the slaves. Now, as this example show, Fourier extended his criticism of caste system to argue against all forms of inequality. That means now Fourier totally was against this caste system, Indian caste system, and argued that he was not at all in favor of inequality, injustice done on the basis of caste. He was concerned about the plight of upper caste women, the miseries of the laborers, and humiliation of low caste. So he was more concerned, Fuller was more concerned about the condition of the upper caste. That means the condition of the upper caste woman was also very miserable, not so good. And the miseries of the labor and the humiliation of low caste was also much considered by Fule. He wanted to just oppose all these humiliating condition for women, laborers, and low caste people. This movement for caste reform was continued in the 20th century by other great Dalit leaders. Now, other great Dalit leaders like B.R. Ambedkar in Western India and E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar in South. They were also the reformers, great Dalit leaders who wanted to bring change in the life of low caste people, who wanted to abolish the inequalities, caste inequalities, which were prevailing in the society. So these Dalit leaders, B.R. Ambedkar in Western India and E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar in the South, they also continued the movement which was led by Phule. They wanted to continue this movement for caste reformation to bring the change in the caste system, and this was done also by B.R. Ambedkar and E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar. Now, who could enter the temples? Ambedkar was born into a Meher family. Now, Meher family was also considered as untouchable or low caste, uh, considered among the low caste, this Meher caste. So, Ambedkar was born in the Meher family. As a child, he experienced what caste prejudice meant in every day. In school, he was forced to sit outside the classroom on the ground and was not allowed to drink water from the taps of the upper caste children used. That means, as Ambedkar belonged to the low caste, he had experienced all those injustice, all those discrimination in the life as a child also. In school, he was forced to sit outside the classroom on the ground. Even he was not allowed to drink water from the taps which the upper caste children were using. And after finishing school, he got a fellowship to go to US for higher studies. And on his return to India in 1990, he wrote extensively about the upper caste power in contemporary societies. So for higher education, he went to US, and as he returned to India in 1919, he wrote about the upper caste power, the power of upper caste, which was there prevailing in that in that at that time in the Indian society, the power of upper caste which was there in the Indian society uh, at that time. In 1927, Ambedkar started a temple entry movement. So, which movement was started by Ambedkar? It was temple entry movement started by Ambedkar in 1927. And this temple, according to this temple entry movement, uh, in which his Meher caste followers participated. Now, this temple entry movement, Meher caste people, the low caste people, uh, followed this, participated in this temple entry movement. Brahmin priests were outraged when the Dalit used water from the temple tank. So when the Dalit used the water from the temple tank, means the tank which was in the temple, when Dalit used to use the water, then Brahmin priests were very much outraged, means very much got angry with this. And Ambedkar led three such movements for temple entry. Three such movements was started by Ambedkar between 1927 to 1935, and his main aim to start these types of such movement was that to make everyone see the power of caste prejudice within the society. And here, figure 14 show the gateway to the Madurai temple drawn by Thomas Daniel in 1792. The untouchables were not allowed anywhere near such gateways until the temple entry movement began. Until the temple entry movement began, till then, no lower caste people were allowed to enter the temples. And as soon as this temple entry movement was started by B.R. Ambedkar, the Brahmin priests were very much uh, angry with this activity of the lower caste people. The non-Brahmin movement. In the early 20th century, the non-Brahmin movement also started. The initiative came from those non-Brahmin castes that had acquired access to the education. Now, again, the non-Brahmin movement was started, in which the non-Brahmin caste, means the caste which do not belong to Brahmin, they started this movement so that people can get easily access to education, wealth, and influence. That means the non-Brahmin people can also get means education, wealth, and influence in the society. They argued that Brahmins were heirs of Aryan invaders from the north who had conquered southern lands from the original inhabitants of region and the indigenous Dravidian races. They also challenged Brahminical claims to power. That means these non-Brahmin caste who started the movement, they were against, they opposed the ideas of Brahmins that they belong to the Aryans, and they are having the more power. They are the superior caste from the other caste, and this challenge to Brahminical claim to power was given by non-Brahmin caste through the different movements. Now, E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar, or Pariyar as he was called, came to came from the middle class family. Now, E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar was also called as Pariyar. So, what was the another name of Pariyar? E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar, as he was called, come from middle class family. Now, this Pariyar, Ramaswamy Naikar, was also called as Pariyar. He came from the middle class family, and interestingly, he had been an ascetic in his early life and had studied Sanskrit scriptures carefully. Means he had gone to the scriptures, religious studies, very careful. This education was being done by Periyar. Later, he became the member of Congress only to leave it in disgust when he found that at the feast organized by the nationalist sitting arrangement followed caste distinction. That is, the lower caste were made to sit at the distance from the upper caste. So later on, this Naikar, after means he was very much he studied the Sanskrit scriptures very carefully, and he also became the member of Congress. Not only sorry, Congress, only to leave it in disgust when he founded, and he left this membership of Congress when he came to know that the sitting arrangement was at a big feast. The sitting arrangement was there in which the caste distinction was shown, and the lower caste was made to sit at a particular distance. They had to maintain a distance in the feast with the upper caste. So this discrimination was also made, and that is why on the basis of the caste, and that is why he left the Congress also. Convinced that untouchables had to fight for their dignity, Pariyar founded the self-respect movement. Now, Pariyar founded the self-respect movement that these lower caste people are also having their self-respect. Then he argued that untouchables were the true upholders of the original Tamil and Dravidian culture, which had been subjugated by Brahmins. That means uh, he was also of the opinion that the untouchables were the true upholders of the original Tamil and Dravidian culture. Means the Tamil and Dravidian culture belongs to these untouchables, and that was taken away. This uh, right was taken away by the Brahmins. He felt that all religious authorities saw social divisions and inequalities as God given. Untouchables had to free themselves, therefore, from all religions in order to achieve social equality. So, according to him, the untouchable had to free themselves from all the religions in order to achieve social equality. If they really want to achieve social inequality, they should free from all the religious sentiments. Pariyar was an outspoken critic of Hindu scriptures, especially the Code of Manu, the ancient lawgiver, and Bhagavad Gita and Ramayana. So he was a critic. Pariyar was a critic for the Code of Manu. What was the Code of Manu? It was an ancient lawgiver, and Bhagavad Gita and Ramayana. So he was totally against, he criticized these Hindu scriptures. He said that these texts had been used to establish the authority of Brahmins over low caste and the dominion of men over women. So, why he was against these Hindu scriptures? Because he was of the opinion that because of these texts, Hindu scriptures only, these Brahmins have maintained their supremacy over the low caste, and had the men had the domination, had the supremacy of over the woman. Man has considered more superior than woman, and Brahmins also have the supremacy had uphold the supremacy than the other caste just because of these Hindu scriptures only. And that is why he was totally against these Hindu scriptures. These assertions did not go unchallenged. The forceful speeches, writings, and movements of low caste leaders did lead to rethinking and some self criticism among upper caste nationalist leaders. But Orthodox Hindu society also reacted by founding uh, Sanatan Dharm Sabhas and Bharat Dharma Mahamandal in North and associations like Brahman Sabha in Bengal. So the Orthodox Hindu society also reacted by founding Satnam Dharma Sabha and Bharat Dharma Mahamandal in North and association like the Brahman Sabha in Bengal. So now these Brahmins also started reacting against this uh, means opposition of low caste towards the upper caste people. So now these Brahmin also started uh, reacting against this criticism by founding different we can say associations like Sanatan Dharm Sabhas, Bharat Dharma Mahamandali in North, and associations like Brahman Sabha in Bengal. The object of these associations was to uphold caste distinction. That means those who were Orthodox Hindu society, those who belonged to who were strict followers to their Hindu religion, and those who followed all the custom and tradition of Hinduism, and those who were strict followers of Hindu religion, they formed these type of association so as this caste distinction remain as it is, uh, and as a cornerstone of Hinduism, and show how this was sanctified by the scriptures. They wanted to show that in the scriptures also this distinction is shown, and that is why they wanted to uphold, wanted to maintain this caste distinction. These Brahmins, these Orthodox Hindu people wanted to maintain this caste differences in the society through these association. Now, debates and struggle over caste continued beyond the colonial period and are still going on in our own time. So, nowadays, also, this caste struggle is continuing. Debates and struggle of caste continued still today. Now organizing for reform. Now these are the reform movement that Brahmo Samaj was formed in 1830, and it prohibited all forms of adultery, uh, sacrifice, believed in Upanishads, and forbade in the members of criticism other religious practices. That means this was the Brahmo Samaj who prohibited, who stopped in the uh, uh, means idolatry means uh, to worship the idol or any sacrifice to be made. They were just against this, and uh, it critically drew upon the ideals of religions, especially for Hinduism and Christianity, looking at their negative and positive dimensions. Means they critically had given the views, the ideals of the religion of Hinduism and Christianity according to Brahmo Samaj. Then Doranezio and Young Bengal was also there, where Henry Louis. Now this is the picture of Keshav Chandra Sen, one of the main leaders of Brahmo Samaj, and this is Henry uh, Derozio and Young Bengal, that is a teacher at Hindu College, Calcutta in 1820s, promoted radical ideas and encouraged his pupil to question all authorities and referred to as Young Bengal movement. His student attacked tradition and customs, demanded education for women, and campaigned the freedom throughout the expression. Means all these people wanted to bring the change in the society. And this Ramakrishna Mission Paramhans and Swami Vivekananda, named after Ramakrishna Paramhans and Swami Vivekananda Guru, the Ramakrishna Mission stressed on ideal of salvation through social service and self action, selfless action. Then Swami Vivekananda also worked, whose original name of Swami Vivekananda was Narendra Nath Dutt, and he also combined the teaching of Sri Ramakrishna with his well-founded modern outlook and spread all over the world that he wanted also to bring the change in the society. In the same way, a Pratna Samaj was also established in 1867 at Bombay. The Pratna Samaj sought to remove caste restrictions, abolish child marriage, and encourage women education, and also banned the widow remarriage. Religious meetings were there uh, upon Hindu, Buddhist, and Christian texts. Now, Veda Samaj was also establishment in Madras, Chennai in 1864. Veda Samaj was inspired by Brahmo Samaj, and it also works to abolish the caste distinction, promote widow remarriage, and women education. Its members believed in one God, and they criticized the superstitions and rituals of Orthodox Hinduism. That means whatever superstitions, rituals were performed in the Hindu religion, they were totally against it. So all these were the reform movements and the leaders who wanted to bring the changes in the society, Indian society. Aligarh movement was also started, that is the Muhammad Anglo Oriental College founded by Sayyid Ahmad Khan in 1875 at Aligarh. Later became the Aligarh Muslim University, and it offered modern education to the women, especially to the women. And Aligarh movement, as it was known, an enormous impact in the area of educational reform. Then Singh Sabha movement was also there, the reform organization of the Sikhs, and first Singh Sabha was formed in Amritsar in 1873 and at Lahore in 1879. The Sabha sought to rid Sikhism of superstitions, caste distinction practices seen by them as non-Sikh. So all these were the changes. Now from leaders from all communities were coming in front for to bring the change in the society in the upliftment of their own status. Then elsewhere we can see that black slavery and white planters. You have already read about it in Jyotirao Phule established a connection in his book Gulamgiri between the caste oppression and the practice of slavery in America. Just now we have gone through. Now you can go through this paragraph about black slaves and white planters. That is from time European explorers and traders landed in Africa in 17th century, a trade in slaves began in black people were captured and brought from Africa to America and to sold them to the white planters and make them work on the cotton and other plantation for in the United States of America. And in this, the African people were brought were captured and brought to USA for to work for them. And many people, white and black, opposed slavery through this they organized the protest movement also. And in doing so, they evoked the spirit of the American Revolution in 1876. Sorry, 1776. This American Revolution was started in 1776 for against this discrimination based on black and white color of the skin. Now, see your declaration, Americans. Do you understand your own language in this moving? Gettysburg Address. Abraham Lincoln held that those who had fought slavery had done so for of cause of democracy. He urged the people to strive for racial equality. That means this Abraham Lincoln also asked people to support for the racial equality. That means equality should be there. Inequality should not prevail on the basis of racial discrimination should not be there. That means the discrimination should not be based on the color of the skin, and uh, the government of the people, by the people, and for the people should not perish from the earth, according to Abraham Lincoln. And this slave sale, figure 21 shows slave sale, Carolina, USA in 1856. Now that's all for today. I hope you have understood this lesson. If any doubt, you can ask me through WhatsApp or give a call also. And the question answers of this, I will give it to you in the PDF form in the group also. You can check it. And you can do all the question answers which are given in the PDF in the notebook neatly, because I can ask this notebook work also for notebook assessment too. So do the work neatly. In our next class, we will continue with the same history book only, and with the next lesson of history, which is coming in the annual course. I hope it is clear. So, till here only today. In our next class, we will meet. Uh, and if any queries, any doubt, you can ask me in the next class. Till then, take care. Thank you.